Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and due to popular demand, we are doing our Love Bug Valentine's Day card tutorial today.
Ah.
I did a preview of this last week and the excitement was there, and so I'm like, all right, let's do the full tutorial, let's do this. This was inspired by someone in our community. Her name's Nina Marler. Thank you so much for sharing this. Right when I saw this design, I messaged her. I'm like, can I teach a YouTube tutorial about this? She was just like, of course. So anyways, super excited to do this. We're going to be doing this in 5 steps. So our very first step is we're going to sketch. Our second step is we are going to do the shadows. Our third step is we are going to paint the red on our tiny little ladybugs. Our fourth step is we'll do the details. So that's where we'll do like the ladybug spots and the heads. And then our fifth step is optional. That is if you want to do any lettering. Okay.
All right.
I also have another version here. This one, it's obviously just the ladybugs are bigger. The steps are exactly the same. And I also thought it'd be really cute if you have a little one to use thumbprints
Oh, that
for
is
the
cute.
ladybug.
That is
I tried to do it myself, but after I think it's better with smaller thumbs. I'll just say that. It was just like my heart. That's why my heart's so wonky. So anyways, try it with little ones and their thumbprints. Okay?
All right.
All right. So let's do our oath and then we will get into it. If you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
Promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
Promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
I promise to have fun.
All right, I have my card. This is just a piece of LMA watercolor paper that I cut down into a 10 by 7. And then I just folded it in half. So it's a 5 by 7 card. You can do this any positioning you want. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to think about my heart shape in general. So you can even just do a light sketch of a heart to help you keep your bugs in a heart shape. And then now after I do that, I'm just going to go around and do ovals. And you want to leave enough space in between that there's room for shadows. If they're too close together, you're not going to be able to paint the shadows, and the shadows actually really help in this cute little project. The other thing that I'm just going to mention, because there are so many little pieces here, tiny little bugs, it's easy to get weighed down by detail. And so I'm trying to teach you how you can make this a little bit faster. So basically don't stress about each tiny little thing. Look how wonky all of my little ovals are. That's fine. They can be wonky. Bugs are wonky.
Yeah.
And they really actually do come in all different shapes and sizes. Ladybugs even. They do. I mean, they're overall round, but some are tiny and some are bigger and,
This
And
project is kind of triggering for me. We get invasions of these fake ladybugs in the fall, winter time, and they cake the entirety of your house. They just,
Yeah.
you can't even see your house.
Yeah, they're
Asian lady beetles.
yes, and they look like ladybugs. And honestly though, because I'm not kidding, it doesn't matter what you do,
Yeah,
they're everywhere.
they're there.
That's just part of country living. And honestly, I'm grateful they look like ladybugs because you'll be sleeping and they'll just fall from the ceiling into your bed.
Yeah.
And it's just at least they're cute.
Yeah.
Because if they weren't cute, could you imagine?
no,
I don't think I could handle
It'd be
it.
horror.
But now I just see it and I go, oh, and I just flick it.
And they smell bad.
When you kill them, they do smell.
They smell bad.
Okay, that's it. That's all. Now notice they're not evenly spaced. Think about how little bugs move. They're not perfectly placed to have even space around them. You want them to be a little bit wonky. You can always add more to later, so it's not a huge deal. But basically, embrace the wonk. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the shadow, which is step 2. So I have my sketch. Now I'm going to do the shadows, and I'm just going to use Indigo for this. So I'm taking a round 2, and then basically underneath all of my little bugs, I'm just going to do a shadow. Kind of following the shape. And you'll notice that the shadow, when I first started laying down color, it got dark. Now it's getting a little bit lighter. That's fine too. You might, if you're feeling like you want it to be really exact, you would put down the shadow and then rinse your brush and have the shadow transition out. But for me, since there's so many of them, I'm not going to stress that much about getting a smooth shadow transition. I basically just want to place the shadow. You also, after you add like the red of the ladybug and the black, your shadows might seem too light because on a white paper, when you're applying a value, the value is always going to seem pretty kind of extreme because the only relation that value has to it is the white of the paper. And so after you put in red and black, you might be like, oh, my shadow actually totally disappeared. So I just want to say, after you put in the red and the black and you notice that the shadow is just too light, you are always more than welcome to go back and add an extra stroke or two along your shadow. You just want to be careful that you don't like smooth out or blend out the red into it. But even if it happens a little bit, it's not a big deal, you guys.
I like this right now. It just looks like a bunch of tiny eggs.
Yeah, it does. It really does. So I like to do like a bunch at a time. And then sometimes like, I'll go in and smooth some of it out a little bit. But really, the beautiful thing about this is ladybugs are have such strong identifying features. They are red with black dots. So like just that alone, people are going to know what it is that you're painting. And so then you don't have to like agonize over rendering something perfectly because people are going to be like, "Oh, ladybugs, cute." And like that's
That's
it.
it.
They'll move on.
Yeah.
So don't stress. I also opted to go with liquid watercolors for this because liquid watercolors are, for the most part, dye-based. And what that means is they are super vibrant. And this first card, this here, I did with Daniel Smith. And then this red, I did with Dandelion Paint Red. And
Mm.
you can see the vibrancy difference between the two. And
Mhm.
then I went back and even did a swoop of red on some of these because I was just like, okay, this is looking too soft. I want it to be like bold. I will say that when it comes to liquid watercolors, they are not light fast. That means they will fade in direct sunlight, which actually even that's pretty common for like non-professional grade paints. But on holiday cards, I don't mind that so
It's the
much.
perfect time to use it, really. You don't
Yeah,
expect to frame a card,
yeah.
you know?
And because usually, if you do want to keep it, it stays tucked away in like a little drawer somewhere, and it'll be totally safe there.
Also, I've read this on our Facebook page, but people have found frames with UV protectant glass
Yes.
that kind of like if you have liquid watercolors and you put it behind that glass, the UV light is what makes it fade in general. So
Yeah.
it should preserve them for a good amount of time.
And like for me, I have no problem. I mean, I use liquid watercolors for years and years and years in my personal practice, and then obviously teaching you guys, I use liquid, and that's because the vibrancy of the paint was so much more fun to paint with. And the painting part is really what mattered, that I didn't get upset if my painting faded over time. And I actually never like experienced a lot of fading, but that's because I also don't hang up any of my paintings. They always just stay in a drawer. So you take that, you guys can decide. Okay, so now the next step is we are using red to paint our ladybugs. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my round two, I'm getting red color, I'm going along the bottom of the ladybug, a swoop or two. Then I rinse my brush, hit it on my paper towel so it's just damp, and then I spread that color out. And just by doing those two things, dark stroke, rinse, spread, I'm getting a slight value change. And any type of value change on these ladybugs is going to create a sense of dimension. And again, if you just want to do it straight red and not even worry about the value change, do that. Again, because there are so many, it's not going to hurt the card or take away from what it is that you're trying to do. So you see the difference between if I were to paint the whole thing red and then doing a value change. You can see that this feels like it has more dimension and form because there is a shift in value. These ones feel a little bit more flat. Do you see that?
Uh huh.
One is not better than the other, truly. It's your personal preference. And also, you'll notice that when I do like little things like this, a lot of little things, I try to do it in batches. So that's why I'm painting 5 bugs at a time, as opposed to painting the shadow, then letting it dry, then painting the red, then letting it dry, then doing the dots for each little ladybug. That would take forever.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And for me personally, I don't like to spend hours on one thing. I really don't. Like the longest I'll spend on a painting is, I don't know, 2 hours maybe. And then by then I'm so bored. I'm like, we gotta be done with this. Also, don't stress if your ladybugs aren't perfectly round. And if you do one that looks like way too not round, you can go back and reshape it.
Alright, the secret to telling a ladybug from the fake ladybugs. I feel like the fake ladybugs are more orange, 1,
Mm-hmm.
and also they have different dots on the black part of their head. I don't know which is which, but that's how you can tell them apart. I feel like the fake ladybugs, the dots touch the red part of their shell, and the
Mm-hmm.
real ladybugs, the dots look like eyes.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
And I feel like I've heard a lot of myths. Okay, this is what it is. I feel like I've heard a lot of things about the dots of ladybugs, like what they mean. And then you know how like you believe something your whole life and then they're like, "Oh no, actually that's a myth." And you're like, "What?"
Mhm.
So I'm not going to say anything about the dots of ladybugs because I don't know. Michael, do you want to look up the dots of ladybugs? Do they mean anything? Do you know?
I will look it up, but also I need to correct my statement. Okay. On the Asian lady beetle, the fake one,
Mhm.
there's white like on the back of their neck area, it's on the
Yes.
black. On a real ladybug, there's a little white dot, but it's on their red. It's like flipped onto the red part of the shell.
I don't think so.
I'm looking at a picture.
I've looked at pictures of ladybugs. The white is on the black of the head
Well,
and they
yeah,
look
they
like
no,
ice.
they have dots, correct.
Yeah.
Here. This is a ladybug. See the white on the red part of the
Oh,
shell?
yes, 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 I
And then
do.
here's an Asian lady beetle. I will probably put this picture up for you guys. See how it's on the black part?
Yes. Yes.
There we go. Okay, I'm gonna look at dots while you're drawing.
Okay. Now, one other thing that I'm just going to tell you right now that you can do differently. If you're choosing to do the bigger ladybugs, I did put little white dots on their heads, similar. I looked up a picture of a ladybug. Okay. And I did a little highlight on where their shell is. You know, see that center seam? But when they're tiny like this, like there's not really room for that. You know what I'm saying? So just so you know, like the larger you paint something, the more room you have for details. The smaller you paint something, you don't have room and it's just like, would you actually see those details? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So don't stress about it. Okay, that was step 1, 2, and 3. We're now on step 4. We are going to do the black dots. Now this is where we start to really get the ladybug feel. So I'm going to take a liner, or you can keep using your round 2, or really any small detail brush. Okay, you want to keep this small. I'm going to get some black paint.
I got answers when you're ready.
Okay, well tell me now.
Okay, so the dots don't mean anything.
Oh, okay.
It differentiates. There's different species of ladybug.
Okay.
Like a dog, we have a birdie ladybird dog, and there's also little tiny bulldogs.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
most ladybugs have 7 spots,
7?
but there's also a 24 spot version, and
Ooh.
they're born with the amount of spots that they have. They
Okay.
don't gain or lose spots.
Okay, it's not like indicative of age
Age, right?
or
There's a folklore that if there's more spots, is a good harvest. There's another folklore that says however many spots, that's how many months until you're going to have good luck. But
okay.
in reality, it just indicates which species of ladybug.
Okay, good to know. So then when you go to do your ladybug dots and the head, so I have the heads kind of coming off the shell. This is where maybe you can use your head to round out your ladybug shape if maybe it's not as round. So I just kind of pick a side and I put the head there. There's no rhyme or reason to the side that I pick. I try and switch it up so then all the heads are not going in the same direction, so then it looks like they're kind of just going all different ways. And then I just do dots. I 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to like try and actually get 7 dots on everyone. Maybe the bigger ones. I just dot around. Boop, 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 boop. Okay.
I'm looking at all the species of ladybugs now.
Yeah.
Some of them are unrecognizable. They just look like regular beetles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're kind of cute. Ladybugs are cute.
Ladybugs are cute, and I will repeat this. I am so grateful that the fake ladybugs that swarm our house look like little ladybugs, or else I honestly
Can
don't know if I would have lasted
can
a
you imagine
year.
if that was spiders?
Th- th-
The amount of spiders?
If they just, I mean, they're everywhere, you guys. I
Hundreds of
can't.
thousands.
You find them, you feel them crawling on you.
Yeah.
They're in the shower and they're just and like listen, we have an exterminator that literally comes every single week to spray for spiders and bugs and all of that kind of stuff. There's literally
There's nothing to do.
nothing to do. We've had things recited. Like we have everything. We have tried
Mhm.
to seal it up and truly, especially when your house is like as old as ours is.
Our house was built in 1901.
Yeah. It's just like, yep, those little buggers get in, but I'm truly grateful that it's not anything.
Snakes.
Yeah. Snakes, or like we'll get wolf spiders sometimes,
Oh
those
my gosh,
big
those are
old
scary. Yeah.
hairy things. Um,
You know what spider I have kind of fallen in love with? From a respectful distance, obviously.
yeah, obviously.
Those orb weavers. They're big
Okay.
spiders, but they make the most beautiful spider web.
Actually, I agree with you. And our probably like our biggest or really my only experience with a orb weaver is we have this porch. So we have a wraparound porch and there's this opening and we go home, we have dinner, blah, 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 and no sign of anything. And then we go out later that night and then in the entryway of our porch is the most intricate and beautiful spider web I have ever seen.
It was like 6 feet by 6 feet. It was
It
huge.
was huge and this big orb weaver right in the center. And I was just like, and like, it was stunning. It
Can,
really was.
can you do this with your hands? Show them. This is how they stand. The orb weavers put their legs together like in groups of two. They also make that face that Sarah made.
I'm sure it like we freaked them out when we opened the door and it was like, is this not where I can do this?
I bet the spiders here eat like kings.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many insects in Missouri.
I'm also trying to get my sister to move out here and it was so cute because she was just like, well, are there bugs? And I literally laughed out loud. I was like, yeah,
There's all the bugs.
she's like, I don't know if I can do bugs. I'm like, you will not enjoy it here then.
Fireflies are magical though.
The fireflies
yeah,
are magical.
experienced those here the first time.
And our kids actually do pretty good with the bugs. Our oldest is not scared of bugs at all. She's the type that if she sees a spider, she'll save it. She'll put it outside. She has no problem catching them. She doesn't get freaked out. Our middle one is terrified of bugs. She cannot handle them.
And jazz music.
And she hates jazz music.
She's 10.
One time I did a yoga session to jazz music and she was like
Physically ill.
physically like writhing on the ground being like, Mom, I hate this. I'm like, go away then. This is my yoga session.
Arlo's middle about bugs.
Yeah, if he's around Luna, he gets freaked out. If he's around Ella, he's fine.
Our oldest Ella had a conundrum recently because she tried to save a big ant from the house. She wanted to go put it outside and it bit her. And she was like, I was just trying to help you.
Oh, it bit her. It was just scared. But we also get the answer.
They're huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Are you convinced to come move to Missouri? Are we doing it?
Also, tornadoes.
Also ice.
Yeah.
So much ice.
Yeah, it's like -30 every winter.
And really, really humid in the summer.
Yeah. Excellent.
But I will say it's beautiful and so lush.
Yeah.
The weather is why it can handle all that growth and lushness. Okay.
We just got to figure out how to cook these Asian lady beetles and we'll be
We'll be
living high on the hog.
okay. So now you can kind of see what I'm talking about in terms of what happens to the value of your shadow once you add the red and the black details on the ladybug. So just if you want to go back one more time while things, like things are mostly dry. So then on the areas where they're really light, you can just do an extra little swoop of shadow, but that I'll leave up to you. Maybe just on the couple that I see are like where the shadow almost totally disappeared. I can do some. But again, it's not like It's up to you. You can look at it and decide. And I also feel like I needed one more ladybug right there. I had a big gap right there, so I'm going to fill that really quick. There we go. Okay, now, after I do the details on that, our very last step is just how you want to finish this card. So like, this is enough. You don't have to put anything else on here, but sometimes just doing these tiny little finishing details on a handmade greenie card kind of give it that nice little edge of being like, this is complete. So you can do lettering, you can do a border, anything that you want to do. If you do decide to do lettering, what I would suggest is if you take a pencil and just kind of sketch where you want your letters to be, that is a great place to start. So if you want to write love bug, like maybe you have more room on the top, like maybe your heart wasn't centered, that's fine. I'm going to do love and then bug down here. And I'm not going to do cursive. I'm going to try and do a serif font. That means they have like at the end of the letters, they have like a little
Tails.
tails. So I'm going to try and space it to where, and already I can tell that the L is too far. And I am not a letterer, okay? This is not my skill set. If you want to learn that skill set, there's amazing resources out there for you. Our friend Nicole Miyuki has some great resources. Okay, now the other thing I struggle with is making all my letters the same height. So I'm gonna,
I feel like that's called kerning. Kerning?
yes.
I don't know.
Okay, once I feel good about my placement, then I'm gonna go in and try my letters. And then I didn't add the serif on these ones. I just kind of did this for placement. So we're just going to go for it and see how it goes.
All right.
All right. So here's my L. And then at the end, I'm going to do little hearts because that's cute.
Yeah, learning what serif meant really opened my eyes because there's fonts that say like sans serif, which
Yes.
means without the serif part.
Now with an O, they don't have an N. I mean, any ends to do like a serif part. So I'm going to do this little heart in the middle. A little heart here. Okay.
It was funny, like every comment on the last video was to do this one. People are really excited about this.
Yeah. And I understand.
It's cute.
It does just take a little bit longer. So I'm like, well, I want to give them a card that they could do in like 5 minutes. Or if they have, 20 or 30 minutes, maybe they can then try this card. But I didn't know if like 30-minute cards interest you. So I was just like, maybe we'll just ask.
I bet this card batches really well too, though. If you had 4 of these lined up,
Yeah,
it would go pretty quick.
I think so too. The other thing I've learned about like handwriting and doing lettering and all of this kind of stuff is like it's really fake it till you make it type of thing because I have seen illustrators that do like little like hand lettering on their stuff. And it's funny because like when I look at the details of it, it's not perfect. You can absolutely tell that it's hand done. And like there's not uneven thickness and things aren't evenly spaced, but they still just go for it. And it's actually that like character that I'm like, oh, that's cute,
Hmm.
you know? So all I'm saying is like, just try it. But G's are really tricky because they're like super curvy. How cute is that?
Beautiful.
And then the very last thing I'm going to do, and I'm actually going to untape my card for this, is I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of a border. And then if you want, you can leave the pencil marks or you wait for it to dry and then erase it. Now, I will say with liquid watercolors, they reactivate really easily, like more easily, I think, than tube watercolors or pans. So all of that is to say, if you do decide to erase your pencil marks, just be really gentle. Use like if you have a gum eraser or something like that and try and stamp instead of rub so you don't accidentally smear any paint. Okay, I'm just gonna do little hearts in the corners. Because it's Valentine's Day?
I don't know a lot. I feel like I looked it up last year, but I don't know a lot about the origins of Valentine's Day, but what a fun honor to be associated with a day of love, you know?
Yeah.
Saint Valentine, whoever you were.
Saint
I'm gonna
Valentine.
look it up quick. I won't tell you if it's terrible or something.
Why am I getting it confused? Why do I feel like it has to do with like snakes or something? What am I thinking of?
Let's see.
Also, you'll see my border detail lines. They're not even thickness. Again, this is a handmade card. It's okay if there's imperfect elements.
I mean, sad ending. He was a martyr,
Uh-huh.
but he was known for defying a ban on marriage for soldiers. If you were a soldier, you couldn't get married, and so he would marry soldiers in secret to their loves.
Oh, I don't know where the snake thing came from, but that's
That's
cute.
Saint Patrick.
Oh, okay. All right. That's it. That's our love bug card.
Love it.
So I hope you have fun with this. Again, this is your card. You can make decisions and change it up as I go. I was trying to make it kind of fun, simple, quick. But if you want to go into rendering your ladybugs more, please feel free. Again, if you want to switch it up and do them a little bit bigger, I think that's darling. You can even switch up the lettering. If you have stamps and you want to stamp the text instead, cute. Like there's so many options. Have fun with it. If anything, we hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day. We're so grateful for you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.